Vladimir Putin has once again won the elections in Russia in an unsurprising victory. Now, his victory may not be surprising, but the fact that he won this election by 88% of the votes in a record landslide victory is what is surprising. Now, this election victory is the biggest victory in the history of the country after the fall of the Soviet Union. Not only that, but Putin is also set to surpass Joseph Stalin as the longest serving leader in Russia at the end of his 6-year term in 2030. In the first victory speech, Putin warned the West about the potential of the current Ukraine and Russia war escalating to a World War III scenario. And we are going to talk about that later in this video. But first, let us talk about the brief history of Putin's political power as a president and prime minister of Russia. So, Vladimir Putin first became the president, the acting president of Russia in 1999. Then again, he rose to power in the year 2000 and remained in power until 2008. At that point of time, between 2000 and 2008, he served 2 presidential terms. After 2008, he stepped down as the president and his favored candidate, Dmitry Medvedev, became the president of Russia and Putin became the prime minister of Russia between 2008 and 2012. Now, in 2008, Putin had to step down as the president of Russia because the Russian constitution did not allow a president to run for a consecutive third term. In the same year, 2008, the Kremlin passed a constitutional amendment that allowed for the presidential term to extend from 4 years to 6 years. And after the end of Dmitry Medvedev's term, in 2012, Putin again came to power and became the president. So up until 2012, the president of Russia could serve one term limit of 4 years, but after 2012, this changed and the presidential term was set to be 6 years. Now, after that, Vladimir Putin served consecutively 2 terms, one from 2012 to 2018 and then the second one from 2018 to 2024 up until now. Now, again, while Putin was in power in 2020, the Kremlin passed an amendment in the constitution through a referendum which allowed Putin to run for 2 more terms as president up until 2036. And as mentioned earlier, Putin won this election by 88% of the total votes and there was no significant opposition inside. Now, when we talk about a strong opposition leader in Russia, we have to talk about Alexei Navalny. Alexei Navalny was a significant opposition leader who died in prison just 1 month earlier while serving his 3-decade-long prison sentence. Now, the reason for Alexei Navalny's popularity was that he was critical of Vladimir Putin and the Russian government. And he spoke publicly about the corruption that was going on in Russia. After the news of Alexei Navalny's death, the West has criticized the Russian government. Joe Biden even blamed the Kremlin for the death of Alexei Navalny. Even after the election results came in, the West, specifically the US and the UK as well as Germany, they did not accept this victory. The US even said that the Russian elections were neither free nor fair. And this was because of the fact that opposition leaders as well as journalists, they were either thrown in jails or they were sent to exile. And while the West has criticized Putin for his victory, countries like China and India, they have congratulated Putin for winning the elections and now getting ready to serve the 5th term as the president of Russia. And as I mentioned earlier, in his very first victory speech, Putin warned the West and said that if the US-led NATO military got involved in the Russia-Ukraine war, then the world would be just one step away from a World War III-like scenario. And that no one would want that scenario. Putin also said that NATO's military was already involved in the Russia-Ukraine war as Russia picked up both English and French being spoken at the battlefield. So last month, Emmanuel Macron, the French president, said that they could not rule out the possibility of France deploying their troops in Ukraine. And Putin, in response to this statement, said that anything is possible in the modern world. And that if the West sent their military troops via NATO, it would be a huge loss to them because they would lose a lot of military personnel in the war. Putin said that they are in for a peaceful negotiation with Ukraine and that he was looking for a permanent solution to this war and not a ceasefire that would be violated in the next 1 or 2 years. As I mentioned earlier, that the West criticized Russia for its election process, and in turn, Putin actually dismissed these criticisms by the West and in turn said that the US was actually not being constitutional. The US was not being a democratic country. He said that the democratic country would not use administrative resources of the government to go after another presidential candidate. And in this context, he was talking about Donald Trump. He said that the current US government was using their resources, was using all their powers to go after Donald Trump to make him lose this election and that the US elections were rigged. He further said that this is not democratic. In fact, it is a catastrophe. Regardless of the criticisms of Vladimir Putin's recent election wins, the West has to accept the fact that Putin is in fact going to be the president at least for the next 6 years, and that they will have to deal with Putin in the matters of the Russia-Ukraine war. Now, we're already witnessing two major wars here. One is the Russia and Ukraine war that started over 2 years ago. So we are already in the third year of the Russia and Ukraine war. And the second war, which is the Israel and Palestine war. So no one would want this situation to escalate into a potential World War III. No one wants that scenario to happen. But the question is, how are we going to reach a potential peaceful negotiation amongst all the countries involved? What do you think about Vladimir Putin's statement? Do you think that we are going to witness a permanent solution to this war? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video valuable, please share this video with your friends and family, and please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this video and have a great day.